Hello, welcome back. Remember this room? I unfortunately do. Honestly, I would rather be literally anywhere except here in this room, but through sheer stubbornness, I'm going to insist on getting it done. I am told that I am overlooking something to a ridiculous degree in this room. Apparently, I had spent a whole lot of time rechecking everything, and all of my observations from before hold up. So, a tool that I use sometimes, I did this a lot in Bithro's Teacher, was, when I get stuck, recheck all assumptions, and look for holes in them. Let's start with the most obvious blocker. The thing that had me stuck last time, and was impenetrable as far as I could tell. So sure, I can get to this. Okay, no, hang on, let's start with the basic ones. In order to win a DROD room, you must kill all the monsters and exit the room, ignoring stuff with like conquer tokens because there aren't any in the room, etc. In order to kill all the monsters, I have to stab this water skipper. And all these others, minus the Slayer. They're easy. The water skipper's possibly the tough one. In order to leave the room... Let's check this carefully. A yellow door with an active force arrow on it can never deactivate the force arrow, so I don't need to look here. This arrow does not change the color of anything in the room when I click on it, so I will not be leaving that way. This arrow is the only way out... So I must step here, or something needs to. So this pressure plate must be activated. So killing all the monsters includes stabbing this water skipper. Leaving the room includes stepping on this pressure plate. Okay. So I can do one of those steps right now. I can kill the water skipper. Stepping in here does something that seems very temporary to me. It closes this. There are no flying enemies, I can't take on a flying player role or anything, so there's no way that anything that could kill this water skipper could get in here without activating that. Once activated, after I get in here, if I can, stabbing the water skipper causes this to reopen. So this seems like something temporary and something I don't need to care much about. All it means is I can't start walking toward the water skipper, then get back out and go in here. Or another thing that walks in here couldn't also do that. Or it also means breaking Slayer Wisp or Guard Pathfinding if either of them are coming at me from here. Okay, those are the observations I can make from that. So having stabbed the water skipper has closed these two doors. In order to leave this chamber that I'm currently imprisoned in... Hey, it's also opened this door. Okay, right, so the two things that interact with this door are this plate and this plate. This one can permanently change the default state of it. This one can temporarily change the current state of it. But from here, I can't both be standing here and be walking out here, so once I've killed this water skipper without doing any more room setup, the room is unsolvable, right? Let's be 100% sure of that. There's nothing I can currently interact with. There's no health in the room, I can't bump a door and get him to do anything with it. Okay. So, extending that a bit, I cannot stab this water skipper manually without doing at least some setup task in the room. So let's enumerate the setup tasks that are available to do to me in this room. Things I can interact with currently are this plate. I'm not counting this plate because Bithro just gets trapped when he steps on it. This evil eye. And this plate. This has no effect other than closing that door. There is no way in which that can help me without also doing some other setup. So I don't currently need to consider that. So it's down to the two actions of step on this plate or awaken this evil eye. Let's look at what awakening the evil eye could do for me. Most obvious thing is he could go on that plate. Open this, close those for some reason. I have no reason to want to interact with these currently. I've already gone over the whole idea of stab water skipper, then have something step onto these plates to release me. Slayer's not going to do that, right? Probably not. But that is a probably. Note that I said probably, I did not say definitely. So I'm leaving that as a slightly open-ended possibility. Before I move on, let's get that straight. Can I prune the branch of the decision tree that leads to Beethro in here, monster stepping onto these plates to release him? Preconditions for that. A monster has to desire to step on the plate. Monsters who could step on those plates. In any setup that I could actually arrange here, there is definitely no way I could position an Evil Eye here. With this closed, that arrow closes by both of these things. Well, it toggles by both of these things. Okay, so hang on. When this door is closed, these are always disabled. When this door is open, these are always enabled. If I go in here myself, I can drop some trapdoors. I don't know why these trapdoors exist. This mechanism has not played into the puzzle in any way that I have known about yet. Has it? I might have used them for some route of this. I forget. Anyway, so hang on. I'm trying to prune a branch here. The state that I would be in... Well, I don't know. It depends on whether I had opened that. But anyway, the state I would be in is Beethro is in here. These doors are closed. Monsters would step here and here. So, this monster wants to move toward Beethro in a simple way. Beethro will always be northwest of this position when he of anywhere in here when he is anywhere in here with this wooden floor. This wooden floor is, strictly speaking, northeast, actually. Northeast of this wooden floor. There is no brain in the room, and no other way to affect, other than this, which I don't have access to, no other way to affect whether a monster is attracted to Beethro or not, and what route they take to get to him. An Evil Eye cannot step any direction that does not include north or east when Beethro is to its northeast. In these conditions. In order for an Evil Eye stepping northeast to step on one of these plates, it would have to be here. It could absolutely never step on this plate unless there's a blockage here, and the Evil Eye is here. That's obviously too contrived a condition to set up in this puzzle. A monster that is an Evil Eye or a Goblin, or an Onthic, will not step on either of these plates while Beethro is in here. So that leaves Guard and Slayer. No pathfinding exists that would take a monster anywhere south when it's in here to get toward Beethro when he's in here. So Guard is out. So that leaves just the Slayer. Slayer is the only one who could ever step onto one of these plates while Beethro is in here. So let's look at the conditions when that would happen. The Slayer would have to know about a door that he wants to open to get to Beethro. Right? I think that's true. For the Slayer to learn about this door... Now hang on, I learned something about this in that silly entry from MX Vladi, Lazy Architect's Basement, once west. If a Slayer is currently unbrained, and he bumps into a door, then he will attempt to open that door if it will get him closer to in the direction he's trying to go. So he doesn't really know for sure that this door will lead to Beethro in this case. But if I'm here, Unbrained Slayer is out here, totally cut off from me, and this is open, which it will be, then I can stand here, have the Slayer bump into this door, walk down here, step on this, and accomplish nothing because he cannot then bump into this door and step on this. If he were to wisp over here, which he wouldn't, but if he would, and his wisp would hit this door, then maybe he'd step over there and Bithro could take a step closer, but I don't think that would happen. He would step off of this, the wisp would get cut off, and he would forget about his quest of hitting this door. So no, there is no way, under these circumstances, for Bithro to get in here and have any monster release him. Okay, I have fully pruned that branch. I cannot have these closed and have Bithro come in here and then be released. That is proven to be impossible by the logic that I have used. Maybe the logic is flawed, I don't know, but I have to assume that it's not, because I was as thorough as I feel like I could reasonably be there. Okay, great. I've pruned a branch. Now, you can tell how this room is making me feel, by the way. Only one other room in this entire compilation has done this to me. But again, stubbornness. I refuse to be defeated by this. So, I'm overlooking something to a ridiculous degree, you say. Was it in that observation I just enumerated? Let's assume not. Okay, so since I've pruned that branch, what is next? That eliminates the possibility of going in here while the monsters are in this configuration, basically before stepping on this plate. Because again, I can put the evil eye on here and interact with these all day, but they do nothing for me. Like, these mechanisms have two purposes. Putting monsters on here at the end of the room to step on that, or at the beginning of the room, I guess, to step on this just really at any time to open my way out is not that hard, as I saw in the decoy potion routes. That part is fine. Using them to toggle these doors, I cannot safely assume there's a reason on the no decoy route that these toggle those. The reason could have had only to do with this, because I cannot assume that the way I saw the room play out when I took this used all the mechanisms that it was intended to. There are so many layers of uncertainty here. So this is what I'm learning here, is that as cool an idea it is to have rooms that you do two different ways, some of the dynamics around that are seriously problematic. So I talked about the demo thing, where like, if I load up any demo, unless that particular route through the room was faster than the other one, like if one route through the room is clearly faster than the other, then the only demos you'll ever see on CaravelNet, unless a player only solves it the one way, will be of the one route that's faster. So I mean, that's just the game not being built to accommodate this sort of thing, which is very specific, so that's unsurprising. But the other thing is the uncertainty. The fact that I can never assume that a puzzle element is relevant, which, to some extent, is not really ever safe. But there are a lot of hold authors that I feel like I can just trust to have crafted a puzzle in such a way that, in at least one way of doing the room, every element is relevant. So I can't make that assumption here. So anyway, my deductions have led me to believe I cannot go in here and stab the water skipper before stepping on this plate. So, that means that the Omplic gets released. These doors open, unavoidably. Nothing can ever close those again. Omplic is free to just run around and cause whatever chaos it wants to. One, freezing me all the dang time, so forcing me to face east way more often than I ever want to. But more importantly, closing this door unless something is stuck here. Note that this pressure plate is to the north of the place where Bithro would stand and when it needs to be open. The reason that that's important is because I can't just stick any old monster in here, or, leave the Omplic, walk up here, have it land on the plate by the time it's important, and get through there. It would have to already be farther north. I was imagining situations with like a whole logjam of monsters, as many as I could shove in here. Enough are far enough north that they're standing on that, but for one thing, I don't have that many monsters. Like, only 3 of these can be over there. plus me. And I mean, you can't even cross this barrier, but you're already over there. So even if I had, you know, Slayer, Hook, Guard, Sword, Ontlik, that's not enough of a stack of monsters. Like, even if I could set up that impossible situation, that's still not enough to, from here, when everything wants to shuffle to the south, to have enough, far enough north to be standing on this plate. So yeah, this plate right here, this is my main impossibility. That's an obstacle I could never navigate. The only way I know to get to this water skipper is with this already pressed. Okay, so let's think of the idea of flipping who is in here. What if it's not Beathro in this spot? Maybe there's a reason that this is this shape. What if the Slayer is the one who goes in here? He would never have to come out again. He could, in theory, stab that water skipper. The problem I see with that is getting him to face his hook north in here and keep it north for long enough. So he would have to be unbrained as he goes up here. So hang on, before I even talk about this, let's look at what it would take to get a Slayer in here. I've had a Slayer in here. Well, you know, I mean, there are so many problems here. So many problems. There is just no end to them. The Ontlik problem is not ignorable, but there are maybe other ways. Okay, so hang on. All right, let's do this. Let's prune some branches. Why must this plate be held? Because something with a weapon must cross this door in order to kill the water skipper. Could the thing with the weapon cross before this Ontlik is released? Only if that thing is me and I've already pruned that branch, so no. Something with a weapon must cross this door after this plate has been pressed in order to stab this water skipper. I am absolutely certain it is impossible to get the guard to stab the water skipper, because there's some very simple logic I can use to deduce this. No matter which direction they're going, a guard's target must be in the wedge. A guard will always face its sword toward the target, basically. So like there's a wedge shaped like this that the guard's target would have to be in for him to face his sword north. Since there is no standable ground anywhere in this wedge from where the guard would have to face north to stab the water skipper, I cannot get the guard to do it. I can't have Beathro stand there, so he would face north and do it. So that is impossible. Guard is out. Beathro and the Slayer are the only ones with weapons. Slayers will tend to just leave their hooks in their last orientation when Beathro is not too close and they don't otherwise have a reason to turn them. So I have no reason currently to say that it is impossible to get a Slayer in here with his hook north in such a way he might be able to stab the skipper. Now, the being able to stab the skipper part would require that he has no path to me, so either he's beyond here and this is closed, or he's somewhere in here and this is closed, or he's in here, anywhere in here, and this is closed. If I am saying that his path to me is cut off, then he would have to already be at least... Let's see, Slayers do a little bit of adaptive sidestepping, so he would have to be at least here, and Beathro would have to be north of there, so anywhere in this row or farther north. At the time when this is cut off. Now I can park him in here. I can push him in here. Okay, so hang on. So I just proved an impossibility. Because I happen to know... hold on, no, did I? Let's do some level editor testing. So I'm gonna go here, sure, this room. Sure, so it's set up something like... Not exactly like that, but you know, that's close enough. Where is my Slayer? One of you is a Slayer, you're a Slayer.
A Slayer comes
The Slayer comes for me. So you come in here. So there's this classic pattern. This is how I get a Slayer facing north up there. However, as soon as I make any other move, he's going to turn his hook. Any move at all, including weight, will cause his hook to turn in there. If I step here, he'll turn it. So barring some super duper Slayer magic that I don't know about, and I'm pretty confident in this, so I think I'm going to go ahead and just prune this branch. Barring something like that, I'm going to say it is impossible to get a Slayer facing north, sitting here, while Bithro leaves and leaves him there. So, unless one of my assumptions is majorly wrong, unless I'm overlooking something to a ridiculous degree, Bithro is the one who has to stab this water skipper. Okay, so this may be a useful exercise. The possibility space is shrinking. The worry with this is that I'm perhaps making a deduction that turns out to be incorrect. But if I can't trust my own reasoning, then I can't trust anything, so I just have to go forward with this. That's the only way. Alright, so Bithro is the one who has to stab this water skipper. So Bithro has to be able to walk in here. So this means that any setup where Bithro is the one stepping on this plate will not work. A monster has to be here. Just because the Omplic is already here doesn't mean the Omplic has to be that monster. Slayer and Guard are both candidates. However, Guard is not. Guard is not because, again, I can't hold him in place for long enough in there, can I? Should I be suspicious that this goes this far north? My presumption that this is shaped like... of the reason that this is shaped like this is just to allow the Omplic to slide up and down and harass me with his beam when I'm trying to do other stuff in the room, after this has already been opened. That seems like what the purpose is. But what if what I actually want is to get a Guard in there. Goblin, go away. And Omplic, you go away too. Here, Guard, in fact, you just sit here for a minute, since I know how to do this. Hi, Slayer. Alright, how do I do this again? I don't, with the Omplic there. Now, I've done this before. There's a way to... I can get by a Guard in a hallway like this. Like that. But then the Omplic makes that impossible, so no, maybe not. What about in this orientation? Let's see. He'd have to first be in this column. Dude, I don't know. I did something like this before. There. I did it. Okay, so the Guard's parked there, giving me some amount of time to kill the Omplic, which I already figured out how to do. Like this. Omplic is dead. Evil Eye's awake. Yeah, whatever. Who cares? So, Slayer. The only way you would be motivated to step on that under your own power is if Bithro is in here and you smell this door. That's not the kind of situation I'm setting up. I just want the Slayer out of my hair. Let's do that in this. Let's see, how is it? I step... No, I guess there's no way to do that. Alright, fine. You go over there and just hold still for a minute. Well, you didn't follow instructions. Fine, in that case, you come on up here. Boy, everything about this room feels so much nicer with that Omplic out of there. So it turns out, yeah, that all my problems in here are caused by the Omplic. I don't mind the Slayer. Slayer's fine. Slayer's a very cooperative monster who just lets me do whatever I want with him. I can't get this guard out of here unless this is already open. Okay, so I can't test what I wanted to test. Yeah, it's the Ontlik. This guy is my worst enemy here. He doesn't do what I want and does a lot of things I don't want. Anyway, so if I've parked the guard there, I'm not getting him in there. Actually, come to think of it, I'm not getting the guard in there at all. Yeah, the only way that would happen is if these are open. Which means I would have parked some monsters on them, like, say, Goblin and Slayer, I guess. Alright, so this is clearly designed to have that done, so at some point I'm supposed to do that. I don't know if it's on this route or this route. There is no real way for me to know. But let's assume that that's maybe the first action I take. So this is open. That does provide me a pretty convenient place to ditch two monsters when I just want to work with another one. So let's do that. Even if I don't care about the effects of these plates, just getting these guys out of my hair for a minute is perhaps reason enough to use this mechanism. I want the guard, so the Slayer's the one I want to stick on here, but working with a Slayer and a guard at the same time is a bit much. Especially when this horrible jerk, worst person in the universe, is constantly beaming me. So one thing that I think the author of this level wants me to assume is that I won't ever have to do any manipulation as fiddly as this. In DROD in general, that's not a safe assumption. So I mean, that's a pretty bold thing to claim, but again, I mean, he didn't say those words. I just get the impression that that is what is expected. It's expected that I won't expect this. What am I doing? Complaining and being really grouchy, I know. That's what I'm doing. But I mean, just look at this mess. Look at what I have to put up with. Like, this entire... What am I trying to do currently? Do I have a useful task? I was going to trap the Slayer here, with the guards still alive, so that I could attempt to walk in here. I would be past a force arrow. Notice this. This is a force arrow. It never turns off. It can never block any motion. The only possible purpose this could have is for breaking pathfinding when I walk across it, because it does not affect traversal in any way whatsoever. Unless there were flying monsters, which there are not. So, as I walk in here, I am unbrained, so I can cause a guard to just walk in here on his own. I have no reason to care about that unless this door were north of this plate. Right? That's what it seems like to me. But I can walk in, get the guard in here, and walk back out, and he would just immediately get out of there. So this is a useless exercise. I think what I was trying to see was if I could, like, stick him in there, walk around him, somehow keep him in there for long enough that I can go in here, slide him all the way up there, see how much sword turn distance I can get away from him, or like use the tunnels or something, and see if I could like walk in here in time for him to just land on this plate. I think I can say that's obviously impossible because just look at the number of steps here. This is like dozens. This is like 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, not even. Oh yes, 8. 8 is not even 8. Okay, so let's stop doing that exercise. Alright, I've pruned that branch. Guard does not walk in here to step on this plate. Okay, so the number of monsters who can step on this plate I think has dwindled to 1. Looks like it's just the Ontlik. So he never comes out of his cage, huh? So what do I think about the idea of putting a Slayer in here? I think it looks hard. But let's investigate. Just so that I can know for sure. Sure, you killed that goblin, thanks. That's nice. Okay, so if I wanted to do what I was thinking, the Ontlik would need to stay alive. I don't need to be north of the Slayer here? Okay, so this isn't going to happen. I was thinking of the idea where the Slayer was parked in this spot, with the Omplic somewhere to its north. Slayer cooperatively holds still for long enough that, well, if I'm doing that, why don't I just park the Slayer on the plate? Other problem here. By the way, this has to be held. So even if I got past this barrier, which is currently stopping me, this still has to be held while I'm in here. So that's interesting, meaning that the state of these will be different. So I have 2 plates that are absolutely required. There's nothing whatsoever that I can do to get around the fact that these both have to be down while I walk in here. It is Bithro who has to walk in here, by the logic I used. At the time this is stabbed... I mean, yeah, ideal situation. This stays down the whole time, Omplic is frozen on a sword. Somebody's on this. Something about stabbing the water skipper. Like, say, one of these explosions, or a monster coming off of one of these, or this door opening so a path to Bithro opens up, or something. Something about stabbing this. Actually, I think what it would be is like... Okay, hang on, finish your sentence. We'll have to cause a monster to step off this plate. That's how Bithro will get out. So that cuts out the idea of interacting with these pressure plates in any way to affect these doors. Okay, yes. So that assertion that this is required makes these irrelevant for the idea of getting out, because they already have to be in their default state for Bithro to get in. Or no, their state has to not change for him to get out. Oh. But this toggles those. So they do have to be in their default state. Okay, so something has to be on this plate and stay there until this is stabbed, then get off. Something has to be on this plate at the turn when Bithro passes this to the north, and at the turn when Bithro passes it to the south. A Slayer here does not put his hook in such a way that it could ever reflect the beam of an Omplic here. That's 1 row too far away for that, and the diagonals don't line up. So orthogonal only with the hook. Well, okay, good, so I don't have to reflect an Omplic beam on a Slayer hook, which is horrific to do anyway, as I found out last time. Then what do I reflect it on? Does the Omplic beam have to be reflected? I think so. How else am I going to keep an Omplic in place? There aren't any mirrors. I've already ruled out the idea of blockage. Guard sword. Now that has to be stable. I'm going, if I want to do this, what has to happen, at some point somehow, Slayer, help me with this goblin. Goblin, step into the Slayer's hook zone. Thanks. So let's just look at the dynamics of this. First of all, I'm forced to face east way more than is comfortable. Second of all, Slayer needs to land here. Okay, so it doesn't really matter which way I'm facing if I'm leading him by his wisp. So I'll lead him around by his wisp. Yeah, you just follow. Wisp is on that plate. So you follow your wisp till you get close to that plate, then turn your hook. Forget about me for a minute. I'll dodge your wisp somehow. Let's see, what's the easiest way to do this? Here we go. So that puts me in close enough proximity to the Slayer to move and cause him to turn his hook. I don't have an exact number for how close that is. It depends on which way he's facing and which way I'm facing. But let's say I can be no farther away, that like I have to be inside this room. If I'm down here, that's almost certainly too far away. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's assume it's 5 tiles, just like the attraction radius of a decoy potion. So if I'm not within a 5-tile Chebyshev distance of the Slayer, I'm not going to convince him to turn his hook, thereby losing track of me with his wisp. And he does have to be wisping to me for this to happen. I've already shown that I can't use these tunnels to stop his wisp when he's on this plate and also get out without it finding me again. Is that true? Have I shown that? Let's try, I'm going to try one thing here. If I went across and actually went around. Okay, so there's no going around. His wisp finds me no matter what I do. Oh, okay, no, I can stop it that way. But that still doesn't make a difference because I'm still in this room. Anyway, the whole thing I was saying about this is I will be over here to the west-southwest of the Omplic. So the south side of the Omplic's west wedge. Omplic will want to face west while I am doing this at some point, right? If he's frozen on this. Then I have to go all the way around, like I'm passing through several different facing zones of the Omplic when I do this. Thereby also passing through several different facing zones of a guard who could potentially be reflecting his beam. I would not have this problem. It's interesting that the Slayer got back on there. That might mean something. Then he lost his wisp. Then he stepped off way too early. Oh. So check it out, I just ran into a dead end on this. Because of that plate closing this door, Slayer can't be the one who sits here. Oh, so here I have an impossibility. Yeah, okay. So this is actually good. I just had a thought that maybe I could have the Omplic look at this orb to not have it do its thing, but I think that's false. Because the only way an Omplic could look at this orb is if it got through that shallow water. I can't move these kegs, nobody has a pushing tool. They're stuck where they are now unless somebody with a pushing tool pushes them south from there. And that's the only thing that could become a stepping stone. So there's no extracting the Omplic. Still don't know what the purpose of these is. Is this the thing I'm overlooking to a ridiculous degree? I mean, it is obvious to me that these are useless. That's what's obvious. I should assume they're put there for a reason, but they are obviously useless. So the only way I'm going to discover what the reason for these is to go down a line of reasoning that says, boy, it sure would be nice if at the point that I stab this water skipper, I could get rid of a monster that's standing in one of these 3 tiles, or one of these 3 tiles, or like unblock an Omplic beam, or something. How would I ever get to such a thing? I mean, what? I'm not trying to get rid of monsters. I don't have enough monsters is the problem here. But hang on, let's go back to this impossibility of Slayer stepping off of this plate. Am I certain I can't prevent that? That's why I was looking at the idea of having the Omplic look at this orb. Right, I went down this long line of reasoning. There are no stepping stones I can place here. There's no other exit to this. Omplic can't cross shallow water, so you're never getting out of there, and you're never looking at this orb because the only line of sight to it is diagonal here that's at all traversable, and you can't get there. And you're the only Omplic in the room. Nobody else can do anything about this. What? Oh, okay, right. This activates that so that the seeding beacon would go off. Right, that's why that was lighting up. Anyway, so right. It is unavoidable to have this door close when this plate is pressed. It takes a moment. I can probably assume that means nothing. It basically happens right away. But it is somewhat notable that it takes a moment. Anyway, so since that takes a moment... No, it doesn't matter that it takes a moment. Since that door closes, Slayer loses his motivation for staying still. His motivation for staying still is that his wisp can continue to find me. and the wisp loses its ability to find me if his path from where he's standing is cut off to where I am, which it will necessarily be by this. So barring any, like, kind of crazy blockage that would have the Slayer just, like, stuck against something here, I definitely cannot get him to hold still on this plate. So now, the current state of my reasoning has led me to the conclusion I must leave something on this plate, while simultaneously coming to the conclusion nothing in this room can stay on this plate. So something in my earlier reasoning has a flaw, because both of those things cannot simultaneously be true, while the room is solvable is also true. Okay, here we go. Let's solve this contradiction. Now, the one thing I know that can stay on this plate is a goblin when there's a decoy here facing north. That's the only way I've seen anything happen. Or, you know, Bithro standing here, because he can stand there for as long as he wants. What about... oh no, it can't be Ontlik. Ontlik can't leave its place. Which, yes, with a reflected beam, maybe it could. But see, reflecting the Ontlik beam requires the thing that reflects it to hold still. So, you just move the somebody has to hold still part of the problem from one place to another. Everything is so nice and happy with these doors closed. If I could just leave these doors closed. Boy, that would be nice. This is way the heck out in the middle of this room, with no obstacles whatsoever around it, other than this nice closed door which can never reclose. And I've already been pretty thorough with checking my logic, where I really do have to step on this before I stab this water skipper. Unless there's some other way around that I don't know. Okay. So, let's do some more pruning. Things that in this room that can hold down pressure plates. Evil Eye, Bithro, Guard's body, Slayer's body, Ontlik's body, Powder Keg, Goblin's body, Decoy, Bomb. We're stretching pretty far here, so bombs can't move. I can prune that. I'm not using the decoy on this route. I can prune that. Evil Eye. Seems strictly worse than Goblin. Could technically get in here. So the Evil Eye is not technically an impossible choice for putting here, any more than any of these other three are. Slayer so far seems to hold still for longest, but I've just proven, I think, that I can't keep him there for as long as it takes, because I have to get all the way here with something on that plate. Could something step onto it for a turn while I'm up here? Because this doesn't have to be open for long. One turn would do it. However, it would be better if it stayed, because then I could walk in here, stab that, and walk back out. So ideally, this would be held the entire time Bithro is from all the way here to here to here. That's the ideal. But if I interacted with these in a different way, and could, like, park something here that would, like, say a Slayer, maybe, that could potentially slide up for just a turn there. I mean, I would still have the Ontlik problem. And I don't think... no, a Slayer would end up sliding to a different... okay, so hang on. Now wait. Wait, look at this. Look at this spot right here. Let's say I had solved the Ontlik problem somehow, and Bithro was walking in here. These are open, don't worry about it. I guess these are both held. Okay, so 2 of my 3 monsters that are free here are on those plates. Goblin has to be one of them. The Goblin doesn't work for this anyway. So let's say Guard's here and Slayer's here, for example. No, Goblin's here, Slayer's here, Guard is here, so Guard's the only one that this would work with. Omplic is somehow here. That's impossible, but if it were somehow... Hey, wait a second. Well, if I could motivate a guard to face his sword south while standing here, this is a spot I could park the guard. But I can't get him to face his sword south. No, I have to be in this wedge for that to happen, or he needs a blockage to the east of his sword, which would block the Omplic anyway. Blockage very specific type, either Slayer Body, which I tried last time, let's not repeat that, or Powder Keg, or Bomb. All three of those things block Omplic beams. Anyway, so, right, let's say there were a monster here, and somehow this Omplic was not a problem, was just sitting there cooperatively looking at something somewhere. Hold up. Finish your sentence. When I walk in here and step north of this box and continue to move north, the thing that's here steps directly onto this plate at the perfect time for me to stab the skipper. That seems like it could be deliberate. A guard would be problematic for that, wouldn't it? Let's test this. I think the guard would sidestep one turn too early for this. And a Slayer might too. Okay, let's find out which monsters could do this. So we got a little cup there, and a pressure plate in line with it, and a B-throw in a space over here, totally isolated. So hi, I'm a guard. A B-throw is over there. Yeah, when I step here, he sidesteps. Then when I step north again, he goes straight to the east, so I lose my diagonality. Also, you need to have a bigger space. So guard is out. I think that means it's going to have to be the Evil Eye, because Goblin already, without B-throw even moving, he's going to get out of there. Slayer will do basically the same thing as the guard. Just to be fully accurate, let's not use 39th Slayer. Slayer does the same thing as the guard. Omplic, which can't be put there in the first place, would also do the same thing. So there are several monsters here with this adaptive sidestepping. So that leaves only the Evil Eye. Roach is close enough equivalent. Okay. So that gives me a job for the Evil Eye. Now, I think I could get the Evil Eye into that position. So that would mean your job would be to sit here. So in order to do that, okay, let's find a good way to test that. My way is going to be murder all the other monsters so that I can work just with Evil Eye alone. If I want to murder that Slayer, that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. It's possible, but it's not easy. Can I just, like, stall him somewhere? Just get out of my way. How do I ditch you easily? I don't know. I guess I don't. Okay, so just let the Slayer be there while I do this exercise. Fine. So sure, Evil Eye's awake. That's fine. Slayer, just sit here for a minute. I have business elsewhere in the level. Sure. So, Evil Eye. You come here. Slayer, back off. You jerk. So the Evil Eye is there. Sure, you go way the heck up here. Evil Eye... Now this was easier... Hang on, no, I can do this at the very start. Instead of murdering the monsters, let's just leave them where they are. Right, because I was doing this earlier. I know it can be done. So get all the distance you want from that. Then I'll do something like... well, okay, I guess I won't do that. So no traversing that tunnel in those conditions. It's fine. So Evil Eye is here, he comes with me like that. Omplik causes me a problem. I don't have enough turns to go through this tunnel and get the Evil Eye. That's okay, I can do it this way. Not without pressing that. Okay, let's pretend pressing that's not a problem. Guard, 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 no. Guard, no. No. Okay, Evil Eye's in that spot. It is definitely possible to position it there. Comes with some consequences, but it's definitely possible. Huh. If I were a body killing roll, that move would let me kill you. The only one of those with a weapon is another Slayer. So Slayer makes himself vulnerable to Slayer when doing a move like that. Huh. Anyway, so the Evil Eye is there. It's not necessarily impossible. That did involve keeping these doors closed. I think that is actually required. I don't think I can get it there without that. Anyway, does this lead anywhere good? It's the only monster that has those properties, and I still don't have the Omplik problem solved. Like, I use so many resources on one of these or the other, and I don't even get a working solution to either. Well, I think I have a working solution to this one. Evil Eye sits here, slides up there, steps on that, and finds a way through, right? So, what about this plate? Oh, this is the most exhausting process. So, let's go through this again. I'm gonna have to stop after this particular branch of this logic. Like, I'm just graphing out the entire room to find some possibility of something. Because what else do you do here? Look at a demo. Ask for hints. Ruin the puzzle for yourself. So right, my choices here are anger and consuming a lot of time and eventually having a very unsatisfying conclusion unless something amazing happens and I actually make a realization that what's even happening? That's satisfied. Right. I think my choices here are be angry, be stubborn about this, eventually solve it, be annoyed, move on with my day, or look up a solution, be apathetic, feel nothing, get no possibility of satisfaction from the puzzle, and really just don't even learn anything. I have no good choices here. The possibility of me being happy in this room is basically gone. So I have two bad choices. I'm trying to choose the one that I see as less bad. It's a better investment in the future to not look up hints and find ways to deal with this. So unfortunately, that's my best choice. Best does not mean good. Anyway, I obviously just want to quit and never look at this room again. Hey, there's another choice. That's also a bad one. Anyway, so keeping something in place on this plate. What are the monsters who are capable of standing here while Bithro is to their south? The Omplik is if its beam is on a reflective surface. Reflective surfaces in the room include Bithro's sword, non-viable because he has to move, in an arc from, well, not necessarily that much of an arc, but does have to move. Yeah, this is not a position that I can put a southwest-facing Bithro sword without this door already being open. And, you know, Omplik somehow being north of there and facing this way and cooperating in impossible ways. Anyway, Slayer Hook, Guard Sword. It's those three things. So let's come up with an axiom, if I could call it that. For an Omplik beam to be reflected by a guard sword, there's like some trigonometry or something here, like the zone Bithro has to be in relative to the guard and the Omplik is confined to a certain thing for the guard to be motivated to face his sword that way. But I think I can state this more simply. The sword has to intersect the beam at a perpendicular angle, and B-throw has to be in the wedge that's in the direction the sword points. Barring stuff I was trying to do with, like, guard here, sword here, slayer body here, so that he would not turn it. So I do have to consider things that could prevent a guard from turning his sword. Only if I want this Omplik to be looking diagonally. Orthogonally, anything that blocks the sword will block the beam. I already went over this. This is the only orthogonal direction that's interesting in this setup. 2 possible diagonals. I haven't really looked at the north diagonal, just because there's nothing interesting in that region. The south diagonal is interesting because it intersects here, a place where I can get the guard to stop moving. But I can only get him to stop turning by putting the slayer body here. So I've landed back in that branch of reasoning. Like, I'm mapping out this big decision tree and it's still leading nowhere. All I'm getting is dead ends. Like, I've nearly gone over the entire possible decision tree of the room. Which means there's something I'm just not seeing here. Yes, of course it's obvious to you when you've authored the room. But that's not really what the word obvious means. I think I'm coming to the conclusion that I can't reflect this beam and hold the Omplik in place. If I do it with a Slayer hook... Wait, hang on. Slayer on this force arrow, hook facing south, B-throw in an unbrained place so that he won't step off the... But he still will. He'll have his wisp out and decide to follow it as far as he can until he goes into his unbrained mode. So no, Slayer would not cooperatively stay here with his hook south, which is a situation I could set up though, because like he'd want to face it south as B-throw walked away from him here. Then his wisp would come out, go across this arrow, B-throw would go in here, cut him off, and... and he'd follow the wisp and step off that arrow. Right? Is there any way I can test any of this out? Sure. Easily. Slayer, please come to me. Slayer comes for you. Thanks for blocking the Omplik. Please step over there whenever you could. Anytime now.
Did you not see this outcome?
How do I make you step there? You just won't. There. Okay, Omplik blocked by powder keg. Slayer stepped there. Don't do that. Stay. Yes, just like that. Omplik has a problem. As always. I need to be able to reorient without you moving yourself off of there. Or wisping to me, and I can't. So I guess that would mean... let's say, like, you north of me. Boy, I wish I could just ditch this stupid Omplik for a moment. Alright, so to set this up... I can almost do it. I don't have quite enough vertical space here. There, that did it. But I can't keep it going because of the Omplik! You jerk. You are the worst. There's no getting around a Slayer in a too wide hallway. Let's lead his Wisp on a route like this and see if anything good comes of it. So he'll step slightly farther away from me. Eventually, when I convince him to move. There. 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 No, face south! Why did you turn that way? Also, these are closed. Okay, this is not testable in this room setup. Alright. Another hour down the toilet. In a room that's coming up to be the worst one in the entire hold. Hasn't surpassed that one Tar Mother room yet, but it's getting awfully close. Okay, I mean... who's this video even for? Everybody is miserable here. You're miserable, I'm miserable, the author's miserable. Nobody is happy. I've run out of things to say, so I guess I'll see you next time.